Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler.
What is up, Lock Shoppers? This is the Lock Shop right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports, presented by Play Alberta. Matt Iwanyk in for Dusty today. Huss will be joining us momentarily. He'll actually be off for the next week after this. Our last opportunity to talk with Huss for a number of days. And we're going to have a lot to talk to him about. It was a rough day yesterday in Winnipeg. And also, I think I'm understanding the nasty chat today. The under hit for Joey Chestnut. Is that a disappointment? Like, he won, but are we disappointed just because it wasn't by the number? Well, we'll get Huss's take on that. Lots to get to. As I said, the Lock Shop presented by Play Alberta. Use the promo codes EST Sports when you deposit 20 or more, get a $50 sports betting, or 5 or more, deposit 5 or more, use YEG50, and you'll get a $50 free sports bet for new and existing users, because my 50 is on the Edmonton Elks for this Sunday at plus money. Thank you to everyone for listening live on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, watching on YouTube, as well as for those listening to this on podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Sorry, I just need to finish this. Okay, that was not great radio. I need to just quickly send that email. Apologies on that. The bets, if you go to Play Alberta, playalberta.ca, download the app. Click EST Specials. The early bird bet Dusty has is Blue Jays and Ticats both to win. So the Blue Jays tonight coming off the big sweep against the New York Yankees, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats to beat the Toronto Argonauts tonight. That is boosted. Both those to win straight up. That's plus 143. Dusty's play of the day as well. It is Bo Levi Mitchell, 2+ passing touchdowns. We'll have to try to find a way to build a little bit of a Lock Shop parlay today as well. I will have to sit down and connect with Play Alberta, as I'll have to build Jay and Matt's big play of the game for the Elks game on Sunday. Trying to debate what I'll do for that one. Right now, I think Elks money line is easy. That's an easy throw in. I think Trey Ford throwing 2+ passing touchdowns, that's an easy one. I'll have to just figure out what else I can do with that one. I'll think about that later today when I am done here on the Lock Shop. With that said, let's bring him in. It is Huss. Huss, it all went down. Like I know it was a rough day in Winnipeg yesterday. We will get to that, in a bit, but we got to get into the breaking news of the last few minutes or so. Joey Chestnut, he makes his grand return. Did I see the under hit, though? Is that what we're looking at here?
Yes. The hits just keep on coming, Matt. First, Nikolaj Ehlers. Then the Bombers getting smashed last night. And they say good or bad things happen in threes. Well, 70.5 hot dogs and buns. The total was 71.5. And Joey Chestnut, despite winning a record-breaking 17th mustard yellow belt, did not take the over, did not break the record. So probably a good day for some of the books, because you just simply don't. It would be un-American to doubt Joey Chestnut on the 4th of July. And listen, he was away for a year. He came back. I do think there was a little bit of humidity in the area. We did not have fast buns, but he showed everyone what greatness is all about. Unfortunately, we just needed a little bit more greatness for the over 71.5. Great line, though. Great line by the odds makers.
Yeah, that they always find a way to get this done, and I don't know how they figured these ones out. Okay, I got to go back to something you just said there. Humidity and the buns, that matters?
Yeah, absolutely. There's good eating conditions, and sometimes there are more challenging. And you saw when Mickey Sudo ran away with the women's contest earlier that it wasn't exactly pristine eating weather, if you will. A little bit extra humidity can slow those buns down a little bit. So like you go to horse racing and you'll see, like, they'll say what the condition of the track is. It'll be fast, it'll be sloppy, it was muddy. We didn't have the ideal conditions today for a record for Joey Chestnut, but that just gives him another opportunity to come back and make history next year and go for 18.
Yeah, it's one I've talked about weather when it comes to football. Like looking at the conditions. I'm looking at the forecast for Sunday. Never thought I would need to do that for talking about an eating contest, but here we are. Like those dome facilities are just a little bit better. So it was happening during the hangout when people were in the nasty chat talking about this. So was he off to like a great start, Joey Chestnut? Like he was on a pace of like 10 hot dogs or something per minute or something. Did he go at it a little too hard too early?
Not really. I mean, to be honest, when I compare today to some of the other incredible performances that he's put on in the fourth, I knew we were in trouble for the over when we got to about the 5-minute mark and he was just over 40. I believe he was at 42 at the turn. And in previous years, like when Joey has put up his greatest, the 76, I'm pretty sure he was at 50 around the 5-minute mark. I mean, he goes out just with, and listen, it's all gas, no brakes in a 10-minute hot dog eating contest. But he was able to get out to a much better pace early on in a few of the other contests. And that's why it was a struggle. I'll be honest, I give him nothing but credit. I mean, he exhibited the heart of a champion in maintaining that pace through the final 3 minutes when, well, that's the time when champions really are made. I mean, it's all, you can crush a few hot dogs in the first couple minutes. In the UFC, when they go to 5 rounds, they call the championship rounds. Well, the championship minutes of the hot dog eating contest is sort of 7 through 10. And he still continued to put up. He grabbed that one last dog and bun and threw it in right at the buzzer and was able to take it down. I thought that might be it. But after Sam Barkley and the rest of the team counted all the hot dogs and buns, it was 70.5 as the final official number for today's contest. So Joey gets it done again, but unfortunately we don't cash over tickets on the 4th of July.
Spency 5 Centsy Pseudo said the buns felt larger. She had 51 last year, only 33 this year. So they just felt like I guess maybe that's that humidity. So here's a question I have for you with the eating contest. Is this a 4th of July thing for you, or do you follow a little bit what's going on throughout?
It started off as a 4th of July thing.
Yeah.
I do follow a few good X accounts at Eat Feats, and obviously Major League Eating. Every now and then you'll see it. Like, I mean, if the Ocho became a real thing and they had these on, I will do it. But
the question is, there like majors? Are there like a cornerstone 3 or 4 majors?
I mean, it's sort of the hot dog contest and then everything else.
Okay. So they need to find a way to get a couple more. Like you got WrestleMania, you got Survivor Series, you got Royal Rumble, you got the 3 at the least in wrestling. I feel like it's just I don't know if I'm missing one for the major ones. I feel like the eating world needs to go find another day and make another one, a big one.
Yeah, no, you know what? You're right. I mean, the schedule does have events like throughout the year.
Like Thanksgiving, eating turkey.
All of this. Here are the contests. Like, let's see what we've got coming up. So obviously they've had all these qualifiers. In later on this month, we've got the Great Midwest Rib Fest Rib Eating World Championship. It's in Prior Lake, Minnesota. That's not too far away. Maybe we head down for that. The Slopper Eating Contest. I'm
Sloppy
not even
Joe's?
sure what a slopper is. Probably. The Buffalo Wing Festival later on. The Chicken Wing Eating Contest. The chicken wings would probably be one of the bigger ones. And that's one that I know Joey has won before. But You'll see Chestnut's dominance in the hot dogs is not necessarily in all of the other disciplines. In Toronto in September is the Smokes Poutineery World Poutine Eating Championship. That's probably the biggest event in Canada every year.
What weekend is that?
The September 6th.
Oh, so that's the rematch weekend. I said maybe there's gonna be like a Bombers game in town or something, and you could have tried a double dip.
We got the World Donut Eating Contest, the Padrino Foods World Tamale Eating Championship, the world famous Cases Pork Roll Eating Championship, the Smoke Slam. I'm not sure. Oh, pulled pork sliders in Memphis, $10,000 prize purse. That'll get some of the top ones. And James Webb, #1 ranked eater in the Southern Hemisphere, as George Shea let us know, finished 3rd today. He was last year's winner with 24 pulled pork sandwiches in 10 minutes.
Okay.
There is a bologna showdown, sausage eating, sweet corn eating. That's actually a pretty big one. You'll love this one. The Uranus Fudge Galactic Championship. Wow, that's an interesting one. Some more wings, bagel eating. That would be tough. And of course, pizza with the big slice. Pancakes. So yeah, I mean, as you can see, there's a number of them, but the big one, the sweet corn one, is big, and obviously chicken wings, but they all are a distant second to what we just witnessed today.
If you had one that you think if you had put the commitment in, if you trained, what would be your discipline in competitive eating?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Which one would you look at? Like, cause like for me, I'm a Ukrainian. Pierogies, and to the Ukrainians, I know it's pirohe, but pierogies, that would be one I think I could maybe go target. If there's one that, like, if there was, what would Huss's discipline be in? If there was a favorite discipline that you might be like, if I was younger and looking at getting into competitive eating, that's the one I would have targeted.
I mean, I would say either pizza, either the big slice, or, potentially the corn, the sweet corn. I will say this. I absolutely love corn. This is corn season, on the cob. Not exactly sure how they do it, if you have to eat it right off or it's just in bowls or whatever, but could probably eat that. And then listen, the Glazed Donut Championship, brought to you by the Salvation Army, actually, on National Donut Day, would be one that I would take a run at. But I'm a notoriously slow eater. As much as I do like to eat, and I certainly, as you can probably tell, am capable and do quite often eat, and quite a bit. It's the speed is just not there. I would be more a marathoner, if you will, as opposed to a sprinter, Matt.
I respect you. Like to savor your bites then, because I'm the opposite. I'm crushing. Like, I will crush my food. I sometimes sit there, will make dinner and eat, and I'm like, I ate that way too quick. Like, I didn't enjoy it as much, and it's just I wolf that down. The marathon is the way to go. Like, you think if you're given time, because I've done 60 ounces of steak before in a night.
Whoa.
Yeah. With sides and a bunch of things.
Was this I wonder how Joey at a restaurant?
The Canadian burros around here years ago, they still do it. They did a 40-ounce steak night, and I went with Dusty, and I ate my 40-ounce steak plus my sides. And then Dusty only could eat half, so I ate the other half of his steak plus all of his sides. It was a wonderful night. I accomplished very much. I still hold on to that one quite well. But I wonder how a Joey Chestnut and stuff would do over like those 72-ounce steak challenges that you see in places. Like, is he set up for that, or is there actually like sprinter marathon type thing with food eating that, well, if you are good enough at wolfing that food down quickly, you're not built to actually eat something that's meant to be done over like an hour's time? Or is their stomach just like able to handle that? It just actually makes it easier for them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that is, it's like the pinnacle of athleticism. You are able to handle many different things thrown at you in the discipline of food. Some are your specialties, but others, yeah. I mean, Chestnut does this all the time. A guy with a great YouTube channel is Matt Stoney, who wasn't in the event today, But Stoney, if you recall, did author the greatest upset in the history of competitive eating. I want to say in the 2014 Nathan's contest, where he beat Joey Chestnut as a plus 950 underdog. One of the great moments in competitive eating wagering ever. Stoney has sort of transitioned over to YouTube doing wild challenges and stunts. And there's a lot of wild stuff there. And I mean, Joey he's just such a big name. Like, people will pay him and fly him in to do particular challenges or be special guests at some of these events.
Well, the Riders did it. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, but the Riders brought him in. Yeah,
we had him here in Winnipeg too. He came in studio. One of the Remus and my most valued picture from the studio with anyone that ever came in was Joey Chestnut. And Chestnut beat a team of 4 Bomber fans and a team of 4 Rider fans. This is for the Banjo Bowl. Smoked them both in ironically, Joey's fish taco eating contest where Joey took out 8 different individuals playing his teams.
So it was the combined of the 4 in the team versus Joey Chestnut. Oh, wow.
4. Yeah. The Bombers were going against the Bomber fans versus Rider fans versus Chestnut. And Joey took them out.
Pat Gregoire. Is Matt Stoney the Bryson DeChambeau of Major League Eating?
Oh, Patty. Yeah. And in some ways. Oh, and the funny thing is that speaking of, the golf world and MLE, I mean, there was like with Kobayashi leaving and not being, allowed to do, he was sort of maybe the first guy that would be going to the live tour, if you will. But yes, Matt Stoney, I mean, as far as being that breakthrough athlete, engaging new audiences on YouTube, absolutely, Pat. Matt Stoney would be the trailblazer, if you will, the Bryson DeChambeau of the competitive eating game.
Huss, unfortunately, we got to shift to more of that heartbreak from Winnipeg yesterday. We'll get into Ehlers. We'll get into the Bombers here, but Gary from Winnipeg does text in because I know the Jets are having a little bit of a press conference coming up today, which includes Jonathan Taves. He's wondering if you guys will be carrying today's presser on WST, or are you guys just going to be covering it?
Yeah, no, we are. And I guess I should have texted you. I might need to jump out at just like around 10:02 because we're going to actually jump on a little earlier than we normally do because we expect that presser to be starting right at 1:00. So yeah, we'll be live. Taves, Shovel Day off. We'll have live on the program and then we'll react afterwards. Jeff Hamilton's going to come on. We will eventually get to that football game last night that needs to be discussed. We can certainly do some of that here as well. But yeah, 1:00 WST, Jonathan Taves and everything happening from downtown.
Well, let's start hockey, then we can shift into the football. You knew it was coming. We're talking to you on WST yesterday. You knew it was coming, but it officially gets announced that Ehlers is going to Carolina. What was the reaction out in Winnipeg like after that news broke?
People were disappointed. There was listen, I don't want to say he was a polarizing player because I think for the most part people loved Ehlers and realized that he was a huge part of this team and their success. And I think most people realize it's a pretty big hit to the team to lose him. There still are some others that felt that Ehlers was a little unreliable. I think his recent playoff performances sort of made up for, tough ones earlier on in his career. But at the end of the day, I mean, you connect with a guy that comes in and gives you 10 good years. With what they've been able to do with signing so many of their other players, there really was the hope. And I think still people, even 2-3 days into free agency, holding on hope that we might get a Besser situation and turnaround. But, listen, he's going to Carolina. It sounds like he'll probably have a bit better of an opportunity, maybe to play top line minutes. Although if he doesn't, if they stay with Aho, Svechnikov, and Jarvis, I'm not sure he's in a better situation there than he is in Winnipeg. I mean, Jesperi Kotkaniemi is their second line center when you pull it up right now. I mean, it's not a lot different than Vlad Nemetstikov. And of course, now you got Jonathan Taves coming in. But disappointment and, you know, some broken hearts of some fans. But I mean, unlike Mitch Marner, for instance, who I think is going to be a pariah in that town for a long time. You know, Nick Ehlers, when the Carolina Hurricanes come to Winnipeg next year, it will be it'll be a big love in, and I think the vast majority of fans wish him well. The big question is for the hockey club, how do you replace a guy that was a zone entry machine, was a huge reason why the team went to the number one spot in the league power play. But you know what? It happens. You got to move on, and Carolina is the benefactor of it. I will say this about the deal: 8.5 by 6. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the Jets would have had that same number probably for 7 or potentially 8 years. So I think it does tell you that, you know, he was looking for a change of scenery. I know there's been some people saying that, you know, he was looking for a quieter market than the white hot nature of Winnipeg. If that's the case, I'll admit that's pretty soft. Yeah, because the Winnipeg market is, I mean, it's not close to even Edmonton, never mind Toronto or Montreal. Yep. And Nick was kind of a media darling, to be perfectly honest with you. So I don't really buy into that. To me, I think it was more, you know, fitting in, feeling that he was valued as a top player on the team. And it sounded like the Hurricanes got him, got that job done. So we wish him well, but it was the news. It was all expected. But when it became official, it was still kind of tough to take.
I'm just looking on Puckpedia and the Jets, $20 million almost in cap space. Velarde's a guy that they're going to have to sign. Sandberg's a guy they're going to have to sign.
Sandberg.
But that's a lot of cap space that the Jets have right now. It's a shame that, you know, there wasn't a free agency class to really go spend on necessarily. I know. I think it was Steve Yzerman that even said
win in free agency anyways. I mean, listen, you know
how it is. One player would have been nice, I think. But even Steve Yzerman said, I think it was yesterday, that it was like that there was no chance to even talk to these guys. They all just signed with their teams, basically.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. The Jets did add Gustav Nyquist.
Yes.
On a 1-year deal, which I think is a nice add. I mean, it's crazy. He's 1 year removed, Matt, from a 23-goal, 75-point season, the best season of his entire career. And it looks like he'll have plenty of opportunity to play, potentially even in the top 6 with the Ehlers exit right now. So, you know, that was their ad. Listen, when they get Sandberg done, I mean, hopefully that's going to be a long-term deal. I mean, given the Morrissey deal, 8 by 6.25 or something like that, he certainly deserves it. It'll be money well spent. You get Velarde done, which in all likelihood will be in the 7 range, I'd imagine. And Morgan Barron, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get a little term on Morgan Barron. And sometimes, you know, the guys in the bottom 6 don't necessarily get that. But Barron has been a real nice part of the Jets over the last couple of years. But last year, after the trade deadline, they moved him to center. And he really played well, centering that 4th line. And he's going to have a chance to do even more of that with Adam Lowry out for the first couple months of the season. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets look at, you know, maybe like a 4-year deal for Barron that maybe pushes closer to 2.5 AAV. It's kind of beyond what his numbers maybe dictate for, but it gets him here because I do think that there's another level that could be coming, and this would be a good time to buy in. So once you put all those deals in, you're probably looking at in and around $5 million in cap space. And one of the things that, you know, I think is important to note for teams like Winnipeg that still have some needs, but there's obviously nothing, you know, just available at free agency to make it happen, or you weren't able to do it. I think as we get into this season, Matt, kind of like maybe the Thanksgiving period or later on in December, earlier than normal, I think some teams are going to identify where they are and then start making moves to go one way or the other. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're a team like Winnipeg that has cap space, teams that realize that they're very much in the mix for Gavin McKenna, I think will be a little more eager to make some moves. And the ability to do that and add to your roster and not be right up against the cap will be a benefit. So, you know, if they have that cap space, that'll be a good thing to have. The hope is that you can weaponize it at some point or turn it into, you know, some players that make you a better team later on in the season and come playoff time when you need it.
Yeah, it's one the teams that have cap space. There's such value to it, and even if it's just adding some pieces. A couple years ago, when the Oilers added Adam Henrique in their deal, they had to go through Tampa to get that deal done, and Tampa got a pick out of it just for cap retention. Like even a worst case, like even there is a point of you can go grab an extra pick of some sorts or some sort of asset by being a facilitator if you have that cap space. But I'm with you. I think this is a year where teams are going to be more likely to get ready to go into sell mode and to load off some contracts and some players because of who is projected to go number one overall next year. And because, who will be going number one overall next year, and teams are going to want that player. It will be fascinating watching the Jets actually the next couple of years because, like, with the cap going up too, they got some of their bigger names kind of locked up. Kyle Connors will need a deal next year, but Scheifele's locked up. Niederreiter's locked up. Iafallo's locked up. Defensively, Morrissey, Pionk, DeMello are locked up. Obviously, Hellebuck's locked up. And you look even just into next summer, just over $57 million right now in cap space. So it'll be fascinating to watch this Jets team over the next couple of years. Okay, let's get to it. We thought yesterday that it wouldn't be ridiculous, that a team was going to win by a touchdown or more. But we thought it was going to be the blue team and not the red team. What happened in the Stampede Bowl?
Well, to quote Mike O'Shea, they got their asses kicked in pretty much every area of last night's game. I mean, listen, VA had that hot start. They got into the end zone. They're up 8-0. The Bombers had a pretty good drive that stalled. They kick a field goal, and then Calgary never took the turn back. Listen, the 2 pick sixes by Zach Collaros. I mean, you can't really just gloss over those. I mean, the first one really put Calgary in control of the football game, and I think made the Bombers maybe a little bit more desperate offensively. But after that happened, it just completely stopped the offense. I mean, they didn't have the confidence to throw deep any longer. It was a lot of short, choppy, 5, 6, 7 yard plays if they were done. Brady Oliveira came back and looked pretty good at times, but the defense got rolled over by Calgary. And I'll tell you what, we'd heard a lot about this Calgary defense, Matt. I think if anyone was sort of in the wait and see, well, we'll see how they look when they play one of the better teams. Oh, what a statement they had last night. And then that final pick six was just insult to injury. So listen, I'll say this. The Bombers are good enough and have been good enough for a long enough time. I think they move on and handle this like, you expect a top team to come back, and they'll look forward to getting the Stamps at home in 2 weeks when they come back off their bye. But that wasn't even close to the standard of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers last night. And they got embarrassed. And the Calgary Stampeders, I thought, made a big statement that if you thought this was just a little bit of a mirage and then they lost to Ottawa, no, think again. Led by this defense, the Stamps are very much in the mix right now in the West.
Well, yeah, right now they sit 2 points back of Saskatchewan. They're 3-1. Winnipeg's 3-1. Saskatchewan's 4-0. We talked yesterday about the Elks needing this victory to stay in contention. With that victory for Calgary, the Lions desperately need a win tomorrow against Montreal to stay in this, because they dropped to 1-4, and you've got 3 teams ahead of you that are 2 wins higher or more. Like that, they're in a position as well. But you and I both before the season talked about how we thought Calgary was going to be better than a lot of the predictions out there. A lot of people had Calgary right at the bottom, and you and I both said, well, not necessarily, do that, let's wait and see a little bit on Calgary. They're better than I think people were saying. I didn't see this one though. When was the last time you could recall the Bombers got beaten this bad in a regular season game?
Like even last year, Zach was out and Strevler came in, and they came back at the end of the game, and I believe they lost in overtime in Calgary. Like the Calgary's been tough at home historically for Winnipeg there, but I mean, it has been ages since there was a game that just went that poorly. Now, insult to injury, the big talk in the fourth quarter, like in Bomber circles and Winnipeg social media, was what the hell they were doing with all the starters still out in the game, down the way they were.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, Dalton Schoen ends up getting hurt. Now, we don't really have an update on that. They didn't seem too concerned, but I think they still need to do work on it. And that would be, you want to talk about insult to injury. It's one thing to lose and, get run over the way they did. But if one of your most important players goes down with an injury in the middle of garbage time in the fourth quarter, at that point, then the coaches start taking a little bit more heat. So fingers crossed that Dalton Schoen's going to be okay. I do expect a much better Bomber performance in 2 weeks, but that looked like a team that was already mentally checked out and on the bye week before they actually got to their bye week.
That's a really good point. That does happen. I'm one of those guys that thinks when a game is out of hand, you're not giving up. I'm not saying like you sometimes just have to protect your season. And not all starters come out late in garbage time, but there are certain players you have to look at and identify and go, those guys don't need to be in there. And it's a chance also in garbage time to actually gain reps for some other players to see what they can do. And that's important. Like that is meaningful game time and snaps you could give some young players to identify, hey, maybe next year we could move on from a certain player because look at what they're doing. Or this season, I don't look at those completely as you're just giving up and completely. And what kind of message is that? No, sometimes it's like, we've been trash. It's the same as pulling your goalie sometimes in hockey that you just have to do. It's not always your goalie's fault, but in this case, it's sometimes, some of it for Collaros, it wasn't a great game. But I do sit there and go, there is a point in the fourth quarter when you're down by a certain amount where I do think you have to look at, okay, your star quarterback. Do they still need to be out there? A couple of other players, like a Brady Oliveira would be one that, like, coming off an injury. Do they need to be out there? You need to protect the rest of your season and not play, just for this one game.
Schoen, of all guys.
That's a big one.
He got hurt last year and missed basically the entire season. He's come back. Kenny Lawler's gone. He's even more important this year. So that was tough.
I hate City. Okay, I was gonna read that one. I didn't want to put salt in the wound too much, but I did like Rip City Steph's comment there.
Have at her.
Should have known that Collaros would struggle. There was a trophy on the line. Bravo, Rip City.
Nicely done. I will say the most hilarious part of last night was the celebration after winning the Stampede Bowl. That basically, if you didn't know any better and you turn around, like, they were only missing the confetti from basically a Grey Cup championship celebration. Full team picture, bringing the kids in, Stampede Bowl champions. I'm like, guys, it's week 5. We might want to pump the brakes just a little bit. But then I thought about it a little bit more. You want to make this game a big deal. I thought they did a great job of that. TSN looked hilarious. How about Lapo's outfit? Dusty and all the guys. They did a great job with it. From all accounts there, Brett Michaels did his thing at halftime, and they turned it into a pretty big party. And then the home team went out and beat the hell out of a team that's won the West 5 years in a row. So I was maybe just an angry guy on the Bomber side of things when I first saw it, but you know what? Enjoy your victory, and I just hope that the Canadian Football League schedule makers will do us the service of giving the Bombers a rematch in next year's Stampede Bowl and see if they can return the favor, because Stampede Bowl number 1 was a runaway success for the Calgary Stampeders.
Well, you give the Bombers a chance next year. If the Bombers win it, you have the rubber match in year 3. If the Bombers lose, you schedule someone else in year 3 of the Stampede Bowl. But I love it. It's a great initiative by Calgary. Got a nice attendance for it. It was, I think, about 22,500 for the attendance, which is an improvement out there in Calgary. So it was nice to see it. And it's like a great trophy, all of that. So well done to the CFL in coming up with something like that.
Hey, Smitty the Welder says same celebrations the Bombers do for their fake cup too. You must mean the Banjo Bowl. And listen, the Banjo Bowl, the reason why that is, and now listen, they don't set up a stage the way we saw last night in Calgary. So that's not, Smitty, you're not exactly right. Like, they bring out the trophy and everyone has some fun on the field. it wasn't quite as organized and choreographed as last night's Stampede Bowl win. But again, you win, do whatever the hell you want. Winners win and celebrate, and the losers go back to the dressing room and say, what the hell just happened? And unfortunately, it was Winnipeg on that side. The thing about the Banjo Bowl is that is essentially a game that was created out of what I still believe is the best rivalry in the Canadian Football League. So whether it's Saskatchewan or whether it is Winnipeg who wins that game, it's not necessarily about celebrating to the rest of the league. It's about doing it to your opponents, your rivals that you've just beaten at Princess Auto Stadium.
It's a province versus province.
Exactly.
It's not even
two fan bases who, I mean, in reality, we're so alike, which is what makes the rivalry so great. Like, when we're talking about, hockey things, there's tons of Saskatchewan fans of the Winnipeg Jets. The two provinces are lightly less sparsely populated. I mean, smaller than Alberta and BC and everywhere else. So it is the similarities between the provinces and the fan bases that make for the rivalry. And then the game just sort of grew out of Troy Westwood being an incredible pot stirrer many years ago. And it does crack me up. I mean, it is referred to as the Banjo Bowl here in Saskatchewan. It is just simply the Labor Day rematch.
Yeah, they hate it. And I do understand part of it why TSN do really play into that fully, but I love that the Bombers play into that because it annoys your rival and just keep going with it.
It's all in fun.
I will. Okay, so we looked at week 4 yesterday, or week 5, I should say, across the league. But the news that happened yesterday, giving us a little bit more clarity into tomorrow's game that you and I both said, like, this is one to keep an eye on. And that's that Nathan Rourke will be the starting quarterback for the BC Lions. He has been declared. MBT's the starting quarterback. Davis Alexander confirmed out for tomorrow. I still see the Owls, though, as the favorite. I got -3. BC on the money line, shut plus 131. What do you make of this game now that we have a little more clarity at the QB position for both sides?
Listen, I'm not just handing a win to BC, but I do think they're going to be in. I think they'll be close, and I think they've got a huge advantage that hopefully for their sake they can take advantage of going against MBT as opposed to Davis Alexander. I mean, I said earlier this week that this line kind of told me we think Nathan Rourke's going to be there, and there's a good chance Davis Alexander is going to be out. And if you can get that number at anything above a field goal, I think it's got to be a BC bet. Now, not surprisingly, now that this is official, we have seen the line come down 2.5 or 3. Listen, I do think that there's some, I mean, if you do like BC, I mean, a straight up money line bet, could probably be quite fruitful. But when it comes to the spread right now, we were going to get a correction if it was Nathan Rourke and MBT, and that's exactly where it is right now. But I think BC is a very live dog on the money line. To your point, Matt, and listen, this goes for Edmonton as well. These are huge games for BC and Edmonton. I mean, you don't want to be 0-4. You sure as heck don't want to be 1-4, and then realize that the Calgary Stampeders, who you'd probably thought, okay, well, they'll be 2-2 after this week. All of a sudden, they're 3-1. And if you start bringing up, well, maybe we can get a crossover in week 6 or week 7, it's probably going to be a long season. So it's winning time for the Elks this week, but I would also suggest that BC has got a unique opportunity coming off these recent losses, maybe to pull an upset of a game that I don't think a lot of people thought was maybe there for them earlier on in the week.
Well, the thing, I'll start with BC on this, but they're 1-3 in the division. 2 of the teams that they are chasing, Winnipeg, they've lost 2-2. So the season series is done. I think they only probably play each other 3 times. Do they have? It's 4.
That's it.
Or it's 3. 2. Oh, that's it. There's no more.
They don't play again.
So you've done the season series. You're already down a game to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You're sitting 6 points back of the Riders. Now, in effect, it's only 4 points, but really it's 5 points back of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You can't drop another game here if you're looking at that. And then with what Calgary's done and they get that big victory, you're putting yourself really behind the 8 ball. But also, I will bring crossover into this because if you beat Montreal, okay, Toronto and Hamilton, barring a weird tie, one of those teams is going to lose, so they're only going to still be at 1 win. If you're Edmonton, I'll bring them up. If you beat Ottawa, they're only at 1 win. So you keep like a lot of teams. And if Montreal falls, they're 3-2. So the East is falling, the other way, and you keep a crossover also open for you while you stay in a position for the West, where that's going to be a tight battle. The West was always going to be tight. We said that going into this season. You could have ordered that in so many different ways, and I could have said at the start, I could see that happening type thing. So even from a crossover perspective, if you're BC and Edmonton, you do want this to keep the East down. But yeah, like when you're BC and you've already lost divisional games to Winnipeg, and season series to Winnipeg, and you've already lost the divisional game to Saskatchewan, you can't afford to also be losing games to the other division here. So that's where I also think Nathan Rourke coming back, they're going to be hungry for the 2 points in this one. They're going to be hungry because they don't want to have to be playing catch up this season. I don't know where they go next. Next week, BC's got Edmonton. Well, that's not really gaining ground in the West. That doesn't really help you. After that, you get Saskatchewan. Do you really want a game on July 19th where you're like the Elks? I'm in a position, this is must win territory for this one. If you're BC and you want to be a playoff team in the West, are we going to be looking at a situation July 19th where it's also we're at a point where we're saying must win? So they desperately need this one, and you got to take advantage of MBT. Just straight up. He couldn't get it done against Hamilton last week. When he came into the lineup in replace of Davis Alexander here in Edmonton, he didn't exactly do a lot. This is the moment for BC. Really, you need to send your statement that Calgary sent, which is no. Nathan Rourke is back, and that means we're one of the top teams in the West as well. So that's where I also just look straight up money line is going. That I think there's a lot of good value on that one. Ticats Argos today. That one is shit. I was looking when we did our picks this week. I looked on Monday, and when the picks were sent out, it was Toronto -2. Toronto were 2-point favorites. It's now shifted to the Ticats 4.5-point favorites.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. When we did our picks on CFL 110, it moved a little bit, but it was a pick 'em. I think at one point it was Ticats -112, Argos -108. It's now Ticats -217. To be honest, right now on the spread, I think I take the Argos tonight. Yeah. I'm at the end of the day, if we're talking about a pick 'em, I will ride with the better quarterback, and that's Bo Levi Mitchell. But I'm at a loss as to how, knowing that Bo Levi was playing all week long, and knowing that Chad Kelly, this is not new news that Kelly was going to be out until at least week 7. So I don't really understand how we could have almost a touchdown of line movement in this game. But if you can get 4.5 with the Argos, I think you take that. And you might be able to middle this if you got Hamilton in on the money line a little earlier on in the week.
It's just, it's not even like this is one of those Nathan Rourke situations type thing here where we're waiting on injuries. This has just been a change in sentiment. There hasn't been no news that has dropped that has changed all of this. So that's been a fun one to watch. And you've talked about it. Dusty's talked about it. That's where sometimes also too, where it's early in the week in the CFL. As soon as you can, look at those lines.
Oh yeah.
Look at those lines, because that's where you could possibly see some things and make some, make some money or get some really good numbers and value as the lines shift this week. And it's crazy that it would have started with picking Hamilton in that sense, but now maybe it is Toronto is the way to go with this one.
There probably are some people that got Hamilton at +2 earlier in the week and are now going to go in and jump on Toronto at +4.5 and have essentially a 6-point window to middle the game and win on both sides. And there hasn't been an opportunity like that in a while. We'll say that is not completely quarterback related, based on an injury or some news. I do think that one's going to be a pretty close game, but I'll tell you what, the more we talk about this, and I think really you do sort of have to get aggressive. I don't mind BC Edmonton both as underdogs to both win outright.
I got that yesterday. I already jumped on that one yesterday.
It's a thing of beauty.
It's one that and with yesterday's result of Calgary, It just adds to it. Like, anything can happen in the CFL, which makes things wild. I'm going to pick them or a pool with Reed Wilkins here where you put values, you give points, and you have maximum 10 points to give.
Yeah.
I threw all 7. You could do max 7. You have to give at least 1 to everyone. I gave 7 to the Bombers yesterday, so I'm going to be struggling in that one pick this week. But yeah, I just to try to keep it competitive in the West. And for the Elks, like I said, I think it's a little bit playing for their season when it comes to the game on Sunday. And I might make that the lock shop partner parlay, get them to boost that a little bit. BC Edmonton, both on the money line. Haas, I'm going to let you go so you can go set up for WST.
Who you got? Mexico, USA Gold Cup final.
Do you want to, I don't care.
Yeah, I know.
I'm mad. I'm going to take Mexico still. Like, I'll take Mexico. I think they are better. I don't think the Americans are that good. They got the easy draw in the end. They got Guatemala because Canada screwed it up. But I won't watch a second of that because I'm just bitter. I'm bitter as hell.
I'm with you on that. Maddie, thanks a lot. And I am away next week, but
enjoy.
I'll be back the following Monday to cruise through the rest of the summer for everyone.
And a lot of coverage about this Jets press conference coming up. So it's Shovel Day Off. It's Taves.
Yeah, this the Taves introduction, and then Chevy hasn't spoken since free agency, so he'll also speak with that. So yeah, it's going to be a very busy WST coming up. 10 minutes. Actually, we're going to start a little early so we can take you to the press conference live in about 10. Maddie, thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the game this weekend.
Enjoy your week off, and we'll talk with you the weekend following.
Right on. Take it easy, bud.
So yeah, if you're into WS, you want to stay up to date on Winnipeg Jets, what's going on? Jonathan Taves introductory press conference. Head over to WST in mere minutes. As Haas and Remus will take have you fully covered. So get going. Matt Hyman Haas is WST streaming live. Yes, they'll be going live. They're going to get you that press conference. I think he said that, Taves and Shovel Day Off. So, and as pointed out, first time hearing from Shovel Day Off since everything that happened, and including yesterday with Nikolaj Ehlers heading to the Carolina Hurricanes. I was saving this one text from Duck Dad. Till Huss goes away, because we got a few more minutes. This is the Lock Show. Matt Iwanyk in for Dusty today. Promo codes for Play Alberta with EST for the month of July. EST Sports, again, deposit 20 or more, and you'll get a $50 sports credit, which you'll have to roll over. Or YEG 50, when you deposit 5 or more, you'll get a $50 free sports bet. That is for new and existing members. Mine, as I've said at the start of the show, that's already on the Edmonton Elks money line straight up against Ottawa on Sunday. Duck Dad, what did the Stamps do difference this offseason that the Elks weren't able to do? A discussion for a show that isn't about gambling, for sure. Well, I've got a few minutes here, and there's not much else to look at from a gambling perspective in my, that I'm really looking at for the rest of this weekend. I think one of the things is it's with the Elks, you had wholesale changes, and that's always difficult. And some of it doesn't always impact the field, but you had a new president come in. You have a new general manager come in, a brand new coaching staff. There's only one holdover from the coaching staff last year, and that's your offensive line coach. You had a bunch of new players. So, like, in every way, shape, or form, it's different largely with the Edmonton Elks. You look at the Calgary Stampeders. Now, players-wise, they had a lot of changes. Vernon Adams comes in. Dominic Rhymes comes in. Tevin Jones comes in offensively. Defensively, it's all new starters for that defensive core, but it's still the same GM. It's still the same head coach. A lot of that coaching staff would still be the same. It's the same scouting staff. They have a foundation that they could try to rebuild on top of. Whereas, and then that's the same in BC, I would largely argue, that new coach. But, while Rick Campbell goes, it's escaping me, their general manager. He got elevated. He was co-general manager with Rick Campbell there. Sorry, I'm going to have to look this up one quickly. Neil McAvoy, that's who it was. He's still around. Ryan Rick Maiden. I think I'm pronouncing that one wrong, but he sticks around. They again have a foundation that they could build on top of. The Elks, once again, they tore everything right down to the ground, and they're trying to build a brand new foundation yet again. Chris Jones tried to build a new foundation. Brock Sunderland, to a degree, I think at one point tried to build a new foundation after he tried building on top of the foundation. So that's part of the difference here for the Edmonton Elks is, yet again, we're doing it all over again from the start. And that's tough to do. That's tough to sell to a fan base, but that's one of the differences I do have with the Calgary Stampeders and with the Edmonton Elks. I will also throw this one, and Smitty the Welder, you're not wrong on this one. The Stamps got a legit CFL quarterback. With Trey Ford as the president of the Trey Ford fan club, he was always unproven. And last year should have been the year where we figured out who Trey Ford was. And that's why I argue that he should have been the starting quarterback last year. So we could go through that season and have an idea of who he is. I still think there's a starting quarterback in Trey Ford in the Canadian Football League. But we're learning what he is this season more. And that's a hard part. Whereas you bring in a veteran. When you're the Calgary Stampeders, you brought in a veteran. You brought in a guy who's won football games, who's led teams before, who last year, the Lions were a solid football. They were the top of the West with Saskatchewan. He got hurt. They lost some games, and then they make the move for Nathan Rourke. It ruined the locker room because he was also a great leader in that room. So that is a part of that as well in football. You're going to generally go as far as you are with a quarterback. So I'll agree with you on that part, Smitty the Welder. But say most of the coaching staff in Calgary is new, but not all. Like Edmonton, it is virtually all. I don't believe it would be all. But maybe I'm wrong. You would know the Stamps better than I. So there's a number of reasons why the Stamps would be able to turn around quicker than the Elks, I would say. There needs to be time given to Ed and Mark Killam to allow this to grow. And maybe that's the change in quarterback again at some point if they keep losing football games. But they've got a Cody Fajardo there. But the Elks don't have a foundation to build off of. The Stampeders do. The BC Lions do. And it's once the Elks have that foundation, then it's okay, how quickly can you put up the walls? How quickly can you build that building? Time is needed still with the Elks. The problem is we talked about the hangout, 9 missed playoffs in 18 seasons. Hernan's laughing over there, I think. It's ridiculous. So that's one of the biggest difference, Duck, that I will say when it comes to when you're debating why is Calgary different than Edmonton. A lot of changes in Calgary, but there's still some foundations, and there's still key players players in terms of just like Dave Dickinson, not player on the field, but players around the organization planning it, that I think they're there. And they have their vision. And you can't just, I know some Stamps fans are upset with Dave Dickinson for the last number of years, but you can't discredit the guy has won a Grey Cup, and he's there, been there with Huff, and they've built some really solid teams. They were the Bombers before the Bombers. Let's not forget that as well. Coming up on Edmonton Sports Talk, we've got Oil Stream, Tommy and Reed. We got EST Afternoons with Hernan and Gager. We got the Reed Wilkins Show without Jay Milne. Jay will be back on Sunday for the Green and Gold Kickoff Show with myself as he gets set for the Elks game at 4 o'clock. Elks get going at 5 o'clock. Tomorrow, we've got Hello Hockey, 10 o'clock. Sunday, 8 o'clock in the morning, VIP Golf Show. Tonight, Elks call for a bit. We'll then transition to Edmonton Riverhawks. We'll have Riverhawks action for you tomorrow. And then Sunday, we'll have a little bit of Stingers action for you after the Green and Gold Kickoff Show as well. That's all to come here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports, presented by Play Alberta. On behalf of us, I am Matt. Thanks for tuning in to the Lock Shop. Oil Stream coming up in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.